Hi guys, it's me, Karen, from Karen's Intuitive Jewelry. I'm bringing a project to you today on soft soldering. And before we start, I'd just like to say a little something about Miss Wendy Whitman, who I've been a subscriber of her channel now for at least a couple of years, and I learned a lot from her and her love of beading and all things jewelry creating and other crafts. So it was a sad day to hear of her tragic passing, but we are continuing her legacy, and I'm honored to be a part of her crafting circle of friends. So with that, I'd like to read a little quote from today, December 3rd, from John Muir. It says, "The power of imagination makes us infinite." And indeed, that is so. So in addition to the project today, normally with just the soft soldering, I'm going to be incorporating lots of different beads in honor of Wendy. So here we go. Okay, so my original idea was to do something with these beautiful dyed agate drusies that I've had for a while. And I decided to do soft soldering on it, but I wanted to jazz them up a little bit with some either little gemstones or crystals. And so I got my 4mm little gemstones out, and the problem is they don't fit on larger gauge wire. So you have to go with at least like a 20 gauge. They fit on there okay, but then you have to be mindful about how big your piece is going to be, because it's not super strong wire. So I played around with the different gemstones. I have a ton of different gemstones in different sizes. These are 4mm, some are 5. And I was trying to match the colors up as best I could, but I ended up not being super thrilled with them, at least not for all of the pieces. So then I remembered that a friend of mine gifted me, oh geez, I've had these for a couple of years now, and I rarely use them, but they're fabulous. They're actually vintage Swarovski crystals that I don't think are in production anymore. And so I thought, I wonder. So in honor of Wendy is why I got these out. And I'll show you some ideas I came up with. And it could change, as you guys know. This kind of designing on the fly, which is kind of my thing. I rarely have an idea that I draw out and have in my mind and then take it from there. It all kind of evolves. So first let's start with the supplies we're going to need. Of course, I'm using this Agate FX601 soldering iron. I'll be using Silver Gleam, my favorite. Currently, I am using this Novacan stained glass liquid flux, which is fabulous when you have the right equipment. You got to remember to always clean your stones and wash your hands real well. I have plenty of paper towels. I have my little bowl of flux with my brushes. And then I have different beads out, the stones, of course. You'll need a dedicated plier. If you happen to use other pliers that you don't typically use on your soldering, try to remember to wash them off with alcohol to keep them good. Otherwise, they're all gonna look like this baby, because that's caused from the flux. So just a little a little tip there. We also can't get very far without our copper foil tape. Forgive me if I'm a little disorganized. This is my first real lengthy project, filming at least, in the new studio, and I'm still not used to where I put everything and all that good stuff. So if I've forgotten anything, I'll try to remember to put it in the description box. Anyway, let's get on with the design concept. So I had these 3 I picked out initially, and then I went back through the stash and really looking for stones that I haven't done much with, and but are still in the general theme of it. This is actually a green tourmaline that's mostly white tourmaline with just a little speck of green, but it's a beautiful druzy. And then this is a dyed rainbow solar quartz, again, which is kind of in the same theme because it's... Anyway, these are the 5 that I'm going to work on today. And I'll show you kind of where I started. So I mentioned I started with the gemstones, and this is 20 gauge, pre-tin copper wire, but in 20 gauge for this. And I had a couple of little beads. I thought, that might look cute too. So you just have to play with things and see what you like and what looks good, and that's all going to be different. But this is kind of the first piece that I came up with. So it's going to be something like this, right? So it'll be our normal wrapping this and soldering this and then taking it to the next height with some decorative beading bail. So that will be one of them. And then I had the idea with this, that's when then I got out the Swarovski, because I didn't have a whole lot of variety in my gemstone beads, and I started thinking of Wendy. So these are just some rainbow different Swarovski crystals, and I pulled the colors of like the rainbow out of this. And I just bent this here so these wouldn't fall off. I can straighten that at any time. This is just to give you an idea of what it's going to look like. So this will be our second project, or one of them anyway. Okay, and then I found so much more variety with actually the Swarovski crystals than with my gemstones, because I rarely look at that. So again, another thing I want to pay attention to is I try to mix things up. So here's 2 teardrops. So I don't want to do them both exactly the same. I'm trying to go for a different look for each one. So for this real pale druzy, I found these, that it's called a Xuron, really, the color. It's a Swarovski crystal, and it's super pale blue. It just matches it perfectly. So I'm going to do something like that on this one, right? And then this one was a different color, and again, I wasn't really finding exactly the colors in my gemstones, but lo and behold, these Swarovski crystals, boy, I had way more variety. And so I found these that are actually two-toned, right? So I can pick up both of the color blue in these. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with this one yet. I may bring it across the druzy. I don't know. This one is in the making still. Like I said, this is creating on the fly. Now this one I do have an idea. I'm going to use a little bit bigger bead on this one, and this is olivine I guess, green. And this is an older, it's just, I don't think this is definitely not a 3mm, but like I said, these were all gifted to me, so there's different sizes in here, but it's definitely Swarovski. I have trouble pronouncing that. And you can see that these stones were not cheap, that's for sure. But this is probably a 6mm. And I thought this matches this little green hint of tourmaline in there. And I figured I'd just do something right at the top of this and have the teardrop down, whereas this one's going to be up, if that makes sense, right? So we're going to get started, and I'm going to do this other blue one first. And because this is a rather thick edge stone, I'm going to use the thicker of the foil and just measure it, overlapping a little bit. I don't rip mine. I like to cut them, but it's no problem to, if you want to just rip them. To each their own, as they say. And again, remember, my stone is clean. Now, because we have varying sizes here, right, of the stone, super thick here, I would be mindful of how far up this comes, right? And just put it around as even as you can. Then I like to fold my edges over on the large side, and I at least like to give this a clean cut so that these won't have as many fold overs, because then it can get a little lumpy, if you know what I mean. And that just helps things lay down and not be so lumpy. Then you can use a burnishing tool, or one of my favorites is just a little old popsicle stick. And we're going to do what's called burnishing, which is just another fancy term for smushing it down. Get it as good as you can without tearing it. I always start on the back, because the less lumps and bumps you have in your tape, the less lumps and bumps you'll have with your solder. Just this, to me, is one of the most important parts of the process. Okay, so just get a good burnishing all the way around. Now we're going to take our X-Acto knife and just clean the back up, or even the sides a little bit if you want. And take your time on this one, because this is very sharp, but I just like to have a cleaner back. And truthfully, I didn't pay much attention to all this early on, so my earlier pieces I didn't really focus on this, because I was just learning how to work with the solder. So I'm going to clean this all up and then check the sides to make sure everything looks good there, and I'll be back. A little word on this liquid flux. You don't need much in a little bowl at all. I mean, like a half a cupful maybe. And have lots of paper towels out. Clean everything off as you go. As the thing is not to cross-contaminate or contaminate that. So you don't want to be dipping your little brush in the cap or anything like that. And you don't want to waste this, because if you leave it sitting out, it's going to get yucky. So this stuff will last you a long time if you're mindful. Same with these little brushes. They come with, the bristles are kind of long, so I just held them and just cut them down so it's easier. Yeah, they're more stiff that way. Okay, so that's just a little tip. So now we're going to go ahead and you can see I cleaned the back up a little bit, checked the sides and everything. Looks pretty good. So I'm just going to put a little bit of flux. And again, the other type of flux, the plumber's kind of pasty flux, I don't know. It's okay, but I don't care for it very much because it's greasy. When you apply heat to it, it smokes and the fumes are nasty. You have to clean them up with like a Dawn liquid soap that's like degreaser and warm water and scrub several times. This isn't anything like that. This is liquid. It cleans up real easily. It doesn't have the fumes that the pasty stuff does. So anyway, but this stuff didn't work real well with most of the other irons, I think, because again, there wasn't a lot of consistent heat. So have your little pliers ready if you want to hold it down this way or with your popsicle stick, or I always like to use a washcloth to help me keep things from slipping and sliding. And I always tend to start on the back. Clean your tip off real well to start with. It should be tinned before you put it away. And I just drop a couple of drops around. And I don't worry too much about smoothing things out at this stage because we've got a lot more to do with attaching, you know, the decorative wire and all that. So my temperature is set on about 400. So that equals out to 7, that's Celsius. So I work at around 700 Fahrenheit. Seems to be good for most things. You will experiment with temperature for different things as you move along in your journey. And these are especially slippery because they're kind of bulky and they're round. Like I said, I don't do too much as far as perfection at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and finish that up. And at this point, I'd like to also mention, always have your safety equipment. Have your mask if you prefer. I have now, because I have my new studio, I have an exhaust fan going. I don't have it on at this moment because it'll be too loud, but I do have a fan in the background. I have N95 masks. Yeah, just protective gear, safety equipment. I'm very happy I have the exhaust fan now that I can work properly and safely. And I just want to show you what this looks like now at this point. Okay, so now we're going to move on to attaching this, I guess you'd call it a decorative bail. And I'll just say that this is the tricky part, getting everything to stay still while you do the attaching. Now I don't know if you noticed, but I did go ahead and take a bead off of each side, making this a little bit closer to the stone because this is 20 gauge and I don't want this being too flimsy, right? So now I'm going to get things lined up. Oh, and the other thing you got to decide at this point, of course, before you go and attach, is the orientation. Do you want it this way or do you want it this way? Now, because this stone is so uneven, right, and it's bulkier at the bottom, I think I want that at the top. as opposed to the bulky at the bottom. To me, it just looks a little better with the bulk at the top. Admittedly, this is definitely, for me anyway, the hardest part. And I spend more time in this step because things shift and move and slip and yeah. Did I say that? That's because it happens. And that's when sometimes I'll get off center and it can be very aggravating. So really just take deep breaths. Try to relax. My setup here is I'm using my washcloth as a non-skid and also to be able to hold or touch as needed. And then I have this third hand. These come in handy. These are the ones with the alligator clips on the end as opposed to this type. These are used more in hard soldering. But these work real well. And my goal right now is to keep these beads in place and to get kind of the stone as straight as possible and get one side attached. So I'm going to try and zoom in as I do that, because you can see that both sides are not lined up exactly. But I try not to worry too much about that. And put a little flux. I'm going to hold that when we get there. I'm going to clean my tip, pick up a little bit of solder, not a lot, and just drop it down there. So that's at least connected, right? And then I can let that cool a second. Don't touch that because it's hot. But I do want to see. Yeah, that looks good to me. So we're off to a good start. Okay, so I'm going to flip that back around. These turn, but I might be able to attach them down the road. But now the goal is to get this side attached. And then we'll worry about smoothing things out and everything. So let's see. Okay. Again, a little bit of flux on there. Clean the tip. Just a little dab of solder to start with. Drop it on there. And yay! Now I shouldn't need this third hand anymore, but before I really go and lock things down, I want to have another look. So I definitely want to stabilize those little hearts in the back so they don't continue to move around. And this isn't really hot at this point because I only did a real quick little dab and it was just on that point. So, okay, that's good. And now I'm going to try for a more stabilizing line up through here. More flux, more flux. And then again, some more. See if we can get a little bit there. That turned turned the wrong way. There we go. That looks good. Okay, let's do the same thing on this side. A little more flux. Clean your tip. Just little drops, because you can add more. But the problem that I run into with soldering sometimes, if I put too much, then it's hard to take it away. And I'm sure you all have run into that. Okay, I think that's looking pretty good, guys. We can now start to clean this up a little bit and add a little bit more so that things stay in place. It's way easier to build than take away. How cute is that? I love it. It's adorable and it's unique. Okay, so I'm going to finish that up and I'll be back. And so I decided to add some of these little beaded decorative balls around it. And this, honestly, guys, just comes with some practice. I'm far from really good at this, so I love when I have the opportunity to practice. And you don't pick up a whole lot on your, make sure your tip is clean. Let me back out a little bit. Make sure your tip is clean. I kind of hold the edge kind of at a side and just pick up a small amount and have this at an angle and just drop it down there. Honestly, this is exactly what I did in the early days, but it didn't work as well for whatever reason. And again, I think it just comes with practice. This one I can do a little bit better. Sometimes you have to add more flux. More flux is always a good idea. Like if you get the peaks, you need more flux, because you want the rounded. Well, sometimes you want the peaks. I've done some pretty cool pieces with peaks, like almost like dagger points. But keeping your tip clean, just picking up small amounts. You don't want to glob things on, and that can be easier said than done. Like that's a pretty nice little bead. That one wasn't quite big enough. Oops. Because you can build on top of these beads as well. Sometimes you need a little more flux. Don't be afraid of the flux. Flux is your friend. And keeping your tip clean. Okay, I'm going to finish this. Okay, guys, so I'm finished with that. I think it turned out pretty cute. Pretty simple. Didn't take very long. But it's different, right? There's the back. So I'm happy with that. I think that really, really turned out cute. So I'll clean that up and continue on with the other projects, and we'll see how it comes out at the end. So I'm moving on, and I'm doing this rectangular one. What I do when I'm working, I never make just one piece. It feels like a waste of time to me. So I've already measured out all the tape, right, for all the different stones. I may not get to all of them, but they're all ready to go. But this one I wanted to show you in particular because the other one I showed you where I cut the corner, or at least cut that oval one or teardrop one. With a rectangle, I like to cut all four corners so that it really lays down nicely, right? And you can do whatever way you want. You can do these fold flaps, the end flaps down first, or the side ones down first. But it's less lumps and bumps. You follow me? Okay, I'm moving on. Okay, guys, I actually finished all 5 in one sitting. Can you believe that? Holy moly. So if I can do it at almost 70 years old, you can do it too. It's just because I end up having so much fun, like playing around with things. And this one was especially fun because I really broke out these Swarovski beads, which I normally don't do. So homage to our dear Wendy for that. She continues to inspire us. So I'll show you. This was the first one. I think it turned out great. Oh my gosh, look at that sparkle. Isn't that amazing? So pretty. And interestingly enough, when I went to look for bales, because you can do jump rings or you can get these kinds of bales, this one says love on it, if I can find it. Yeah, says love on it. And I thought, oh, how cute, since I put the hearts on it. So that was kind of meant to be. But isn't it pretty? And I haven't even done any polishing or anything yet, or sealing it. Or you can do, usually I'll do like a Renaissance wax, or I've been playing around with just some jewelry. I don't have it handy, and I apologize, guys. Like I said, I'm still getting organized. I just don't know where it is offhand. It's just a metal, I think it's called flits or something, and then there's mothers. Let me see. I bet I know where it is. Yeah, look at me. Just when I think I'm not organized, I'm too organized. Flits. Okay, so this one works well. And then the other one I have is like mothers, I guess it's called. Mothers. Mag and aluminum polish. And it's real simple. And then here's the Renaissance wax. Now all these things will wear off. You can also do Protect It Clear, but I don't really like that stuff. It's too chemical, you know. Anyway, I'll give them a polish or whatever before they go out. But I'm thinking these might be Christmas gifts, or they'll be going to one of the shops. But so that was the first one. And of course you can pair it with different chains. Look how many different chains I have. The ball chain. This is just a little cable chain. This is a fancier kind of chain. This is a heavier curb, I guess, or Cuban link. I'm not sure. I used to do bargain bead box, and sometimes you'd get like 3 feet of different chain, and it's a great way of building your stash up for sure. And I don't typically send any of these types of chains into the shops. Even on Etsy, I've just been doing the cords because I keep my prices so reasonable that if they want to put it on a nice chain, a sterling silver chain or something, they can do that. I thought about offering the customer their choice of lengths and types of cord or chain, but I just don't feel like doing that. And again, because I try to keep my prices really reasonable, they can handle that. But and most of the time, to be honest with you, I end up going with a cord anyway, because I don't know, like, look at this tourmaline druzy. This one, these two, I spent, well, these 3, because I had these 2 kind of already laid out. I had this kind of building, but it ended up not really working out how I originally thought, so I ended up texturing this, even the sides. Isn't that cool? And yeah, I could patina it, but I don't know, I'm a shiny kind of person. But I just use these stamps, and I have a tutorial about how to do that. And then these are the Swarovski crystals, but man, look at that. I think that's stunning. Just gorgeous. I am so thrilled with these. And this was the little one I already had. This is the rainbow solar quartz. And easy enough. I mean, this was pretty simple. The only thing I'd say when dealing with something like this where there's rough edges, you really got to burnish that tape down into the crevices for a good fit. And I just did some simple texturing on the back of these. I don't go crazy on that stuff. I'm still learning. Like, this is just plain. And I did the scallop on this one. Sorry if I'm all over the place. I'm kind of excited about it. This one was, yeah, it was not coming together how I wanted to do it. So I put all the beads kind of aside, and I just focused on what I wanted the piece to look like, and then the bail, which this is just like a rainbow, I call it, bail, with the loop at the top, and kept it simple on the back. And I almost did beads across the front here too, but I thought it ended up being like simply elegant. I don't know. I really like it. I love it, actually. I would totally wear this. And then this one, I was like, because you know me, guys, I'm always going, what can I do a little bit different? So this I just used from the hardware store, 24 gauge bare copper dead soft wire, and just attached one end, and then started feeding beads on and doing a little loop and attaching it on here and putting another bead on, and then, you know, putting some dots on it and stuff. But didn't that turn out really pretty? Oh my goodness, I'm just so amazed, honestly. And this bail I just made, this is a 16 gauge pre-tinned copper wire. I think I got this on Amazon too, but it's from Wire Jewelry. You can go directly to their website, but then you're going to pay shipping. But I did a 16 gauge on this bail because I wanted a heftier bail on this. And I just kind of cut a little strip off and used my bail step making pliers and wrapped it around and finagled with it. A lot of this stuff, you just have to mess with things and keep playing and let your imagination just run wild. And that's what I do. And I come up with some of the best designs when I don't have anything in mind. Or, like I said in the beginning, I knew I wanted to make something with these druzy agates. And I think, I don't know, I dig them. And this would probably look very cool with black patina. I may do it later. I don't know. Because once you do patina, you can kind of never go back, right? Let's see. One of these I practiced trying to do a little texture, like a step kind of texture. But I'm admittedly not very good with that. This was just I tried to do kind of a swirly kind of thing. But that's what the fun is all about, is playing. Playing and figuring things out, and hopefully you can do it 2 times in a row. That doesn't always happen, but I'm definitely getting better with at least the scallops. I wouldn't call these little balls, but they're more the scallops, and that's getting a little bit easier. So there you have it, guys. And again, this is cheers to Wendy. She inspired me with the beads for this collection here. So what do you guys think? Which is your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And you can all now you can buy me a coffee even, and watch as I start to develop more in some of these things I'm offering, some membership and whatnot. But go ahead and subscribe to Wendy's channel. You'll see this lovely, lovely person letting her imagination run wild. She was a lot like me in that she played with resin and beads, and I think she even did some soft soldering stuff for sure. So we miss you, Wendy, but we're carrying on in your memory. So let me know, guys, what you think. Like, subscribe, and share with your friends if you know anybody who's looking to do some soft soldering, or check out the other videos on my channel. And thanks, Chris, for this opportunity. I appreciate it. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.